Welcome to the KO Boxing Show. And tonight's show, we come from the Fitness Ring Gym in Richmond. Nick Tetoros is Howard, and welcome as my co-host tonight.
Good on you, Pete. Nice to say I'm a co-host, but Tonya and Nick have got a beautiful establishment here. It's an unusual structured gym, isn't it? It's narrow down one side and a ring, and lots of business tycoons in here getting fit, Pete. They're putting me to shame, actually.
Howard, you've got some information on Nick's career. He was a former co-host, the KO Boxing, actually one of the founders when we started in 2002. We're going to be talking to Nick a little later on. Yep. Let's go over Nick's statistics and his career.
Oh, well, you've played a big role in his career, Pete, late in his career, but I've got a lot of stats here because he was a champion amateur boxer under Boxing Victorian banner on the Brizzy shows, and then he became a kickboxer, and then he became a professional boxer, so he's done the whole gambit. He didn't do the UFC because it wasn't around then.
He won a world title in kickboxing, didn't he?
He did, Pete. Let's go through. He's a Box Hill North, a very good family. Dimitri, Jim, Tetoros and Nick. He's 40 years young. He's only a young man. He looks $1 million. He could make a comeback, Pete. Would you consider putting him on your cards again? Or has he been down that pathway?
Always open to offers.
In kickboxing, he was a WKA, Commonwealth and South Pacific welterweight champion. And then, of course, on 27th of August 1999, his biggest win in professional boxing came at Geelong on an Athos Mandalara show, Pete. You were there.
Tell us. Mr. Billboards.
Mr. Billboard, was it?
Athos.
He was. He claimed the PABA Super Welterweight Championship. Now, I looked up Dimitri, or Nick Tetoros, not Nick, but the technician Dimitri, or Jim Tetoros. He turned professional on August 30, 1993 at Braybrook Stadium. I don't think he had another professional fighter for that. He beat a guy called Sugar Shane Wheatley. Not Ray Wheatley, from World of Boxing. But Nick quit boxing, Nick Tetoros, in 2004. But he fought a lot of great fighters right around the world, Peter. And, of course, he went to Freddie Roach's. Tell us about, and you know Freddie Roach, in Los Angeles, arguably one of the greatest trainers in the world these days. So Nick worked out there with Tonya. Is that what I understand? Yeah,
Nick worked out there in 2000 originally, which was when Freddie, I think, just had James Toney and wasn't really as big a high-profile trainer as he is now. But that's a great story anyway. Howard, let's go over some recent boxing action as well. Anthony Mundine, Garth Wood, what happened there?
Well, Pete, we knew that Garth Wood relies on his physical well-being. I mean, it's his strength. That was his key factor because he's not a natural boxer. You know, he's a self-made fighter late in his sporting career because he's 32. But Mundine doesn't look the old Mundine in terms of his skill. He didn't break. A couple of times he got to centre ring and jab move. But generally speaking, Wood sort of bulldozed him to the ropes. And Mundine was sort of defending and blocking punches and trying to get away. He just hasn't got the old power or the skill that he had in his maybe 5 years ago even. Pete, he's 35. What do you see of his career at this stage? He won on points, but you wouldn't say it was a big tick in the boxing book for Anthony the Man Mundine. Where
does he go from here, Howard? Because Mundine said that the first time he fought Garth Wood didn't knock him out. He actually woke him up and woke up his big-time career. Now he's saying that he's back on track. He's got big fights planned in America and he wants to fry bigger fish. What is really happening? I mean, he's mentioned Mikel Cotto. He's mentioned Antonio Margarito. I mean, at one stage he even mentioned a great Manny Pacquiao. So what is actually happening at Team Mundine, Howard?
Well, first of all, Pete, he's got to get an American agent or an American trainer who's in the big league. He's got to go over there, base himself there. It's no good sort of talking about it. He's talked about it for 5 years. He's got to get over there, join a top stable like Freddie Roach and Gary Shaw Promotions maybe, and he'll only fight a 4 or 6 rounder initially. He wouldn't go on a main event. What do you feel, Pete? You know the American scene pretty well. Would he jump into a main event or would he have to walk through the classes?
I think Mundine wants Australian TV rights and he wants 100% of them, and promoters aren't willing to give that up. So it's all got to do with TV rights and structuring the deal, and Mundine thinks he can checkmate them now and get them to do the deal that he wants. Just on another note, Murray Thompson, a veteran boxing promoter, trainer, manager, he's parted ways with Wally Amatoso. You've got more about it. Wally's now at Freddie Roach's gym in Hollywood, California. It doesn't come any more glamorous. What happened there, Howard? Did Wally's contract expire with Murray Thompson?
I understand that, Pete. I haven't actually discussed that with Murray, but Wally unbeaten, welterweight, OPBF and PABA champion, unbeaten, knocks him out, doesn't he? Knocks him cold. At 25, I think he might have turned 26. He needs a new challenge, maybe a chance overseas. Pretty limited here in Australia. Very hard to get opponents. You've got to bring them in. So Wali's certainly a hotshot. And you suggest to me, Pete, that Freddie Roach is encouraged by what he's seen with Wali Omatoso, lucky boy Omatoso.
But Murray's put in a lot of time, money and effort. I mean, you know, this is heartbreaking for that to happen, you know, to build up a fighter like that and he just takes off.
Well, 57 promotions. You're catching up, Pete, because you've had 42 big promotions. It's a tough ask out there. Murray Thompson, 57 promotions over a journey. Of course, he's had fighters like Pradeb Singh, Fatai Onakiki, Wali Omatoso, Anton Solopov. So he's had a lot of international names, but it's a tough ask, Peter. I mean, the money's tough. The fighters are demanding more money, naturally, and he's just worn thin. And after 57, but the feeling is he might have an extended break and maybe come back later on. Maybe. But it's early days, but he's worn to the bone.
Let's hope he comes back. Yeah. One of the pioneers of Victorian boxing and a great guy. Murray Thompson, we've had him on the show as a guest and he's always been good to us, Howard.
Good on you, Pete. Yeah, good, Pete. It's a tough ask because Charlie Liparotto's under pressure. He's a Melbourne promoter as well, and he's under pressure. What I like about your shows is, Pete, you work out the budgets finally. Finally tune your budgets. You and Brian Armatruda and the Brizzies always do. You work out your dollars and cents, and you make sure you don't overextend. You can't do it any other way. You just can't rely on people walking through the door. It doesn't happen like that anymore.
Thanks for the input, Howard. We'll go to a break and we'll be back with more. Back at the Fitness Ring Gym with gym instructor and founder Nick Tetoros. Well done, mate. You've got a great establishment here.
Thank you, Pete. It's been a lot of good hard work and lots of fun here. Owning our own personal training, fitness, cardio, studio for boxing and kickboxing, yes. And at this current moment, we have a boot camp running with a small group, and it's going really great and lots of fun doing all this stuff. Nick,
you were one of the co-hosts of the KO Boxing Show way back in 2002, and we had our first episode. Nicky Tetoros was the man behind it. So, mate, we've travelled a great journey. Let's go over your professional career. You had 20 professional fights and won 18 of them. You're a fantastic competitor. Who are some of the big names you fought? Because you fought Julian Holland. You defeated Brad Mayo on debut, and what a debut it was. That was on a Jeff Fennick, Philip Holiday undercard, and Nick Tetoros has given virtually no chance having his first professional bout. Comes and defeats Brad Mayo, who was 13-2 at the time. Let us in on some of the experiences and what you felt with your boxing career, Nick.
Oh, it was a lot of fun and a big learning curve for me because it just brought me to different levels in my career now, like now being a teacher and trainer and coach. You know, I had a lot of good memories and fun memories from boxing with you, and you know, had a chance to travel around the world, spar the likes of Costa Zoo, people like that. It's just unforgettable memories, yeah.
You were trained by the late, great Dana Goodson, and Dana had a stable of stars. It was yourself at the time, Jimmy Tetoros, your brother. It was Stan the Man Longanides, the 9 times world heavyweight kickboxing champion. Sam Greco, James Grimmer was in the gym. There was a host of big names inside that gym, wasn't there? Also, Ange the Angel Goussis. Ange Goussis was at the gym as well.
I can't remember Ange, but no, I do remember a lot of great faces and a good, very good friends from the Fitzroy All-Stars. A decade there we spent with Dana, and Dana just made it so much fun and just gave us so much motivation to go there and train hard and accomplish so much in such a little time. And he'll be sadly missed, but we have a lot of great friends from it, like yourself and all these great people around who I still see every day now. Yeah.
Nick, what did you learn from Dana Goodson that you're bringing into your gym here? What was some of Dana's methods or some of Dana's philosophies that have stuck with you?
Well, some of his like ethics and train hard and reap the rewards later. And it's like here, it's not so much a fight gym. It's more like a fitness studio where we bring people in. We give them the opportunity to have a go, throw some punches in the ring, on the mitts, you know, move around, no sparring, just really, you know, have a lot of fun, just burning up some energy and having a real go.
Nick, you're 40 years of age. We're talking to Nick Tetoros, a former world champion kickboxer, also ranked number 8 in the world at WBO level. And a real fantastic fighter way back in the early, late 90s, early 2000s. Nick, you travelled across to America and trained at Freddie Roach's gym. That's before Manny Pacquiao days and De La Hoya days before. Freddie was just a good trainer, had James Tain, had some decent fighters. What was it like training at the Wildcard back then? And let's explain how you got there. You're good friends with Hollywood actors Costa and Lewis Mandel, off picket fences and a big fat Greek wedding. So you got across there, Lewis and Costa took you up to the Wildcard. Must have been great days for you, mate.
Great memories with the boys, and you hear of the boys more so, and they're this fun actors. But yeah, I had the opportunity to walk in the gym and train with some real fighters, and you know, it's just a great feeling, you know, especially living in LA. All I wanted to do was maybe sign a deal and stay there, but it never happened. Yet I've had to come back, and we took it up another step, and we trained hard. We fought. We ended up retiring with 20 fights underneath my belt, with a couple of losses, and staying and highly ranked in the world. So that was fun.
Fantastic, mate. What can you remember about Freddie Roach's gym? What was the thing that you saw there that stuck in your mind?
I believe, and what I saw was a lot of people to get these fighters where they had to get to. There's a lot of support, like even from people around outside the ring to help these one people like single champions go a long way, a lot further with a big group of people.
So greatness is not achieved just by one person. You definitely need a good team behind you. The modern day fighters tonight or today, Nick, who takes your eye now as an old school fighter that really you respect at, or you know you really admire and look up to in today's fight game?
I admire anyone who's willing to really put in the hard yards. There's a lot of English good tough fighters out there, and I mean I'm a huge Manny fan, but I see the talent around even at the shows with you. It's just good to see the boys going and they're giving taking that opportunity, that stepping up, and you're really getting good results from them. You know, from a little platform, seeing big goals and setting big goals and going for it.
Now, you said you're a big Manny Pacquiao fan. Is that because he's a fellow southpaw like you?
Absolutely. Manny's dynamite. You know, he's produced a lot of lethal combinations, and every time he gets in the ring, he always knocks someone out, doesn't he?
Well, his next bout, for the viewers out there that want to catch Manny Pacquiao's next bout's against Sugar Shane Mosley. That's going to be in Las Vegas. It's May the 8th on a Sunday morning here in Melbourne. You can watch it on the main event, and it's going to definitely be a cracking fight. Nick, thanks for your time, for coming on the show, mate.
Yeah, can I just say, the fitness studio here we're running, it's just not like your typical boxing gym. It's more like my wife and I, Tanya, we have a whole group of people coming through here every day of the week, and just training and getting a feel of good exercise, a good workout at a fitness studio in Victoria Street, Richmond. So it's at 488 Victoria Street, Richmond. We're at the back of that building. Check out our website, and you just get in contact with us that way. Thank you.
Fantastic work, Nick. Keep up what you do here, mate, and we'll have to get you back on a KO boxing show soon.
Great to be. Thank you.
Back at the fitness ring gym with Tonya Tetoros. Tonya, you help Nick Tetoros here. How's it coming along?
It's going along really well, Peter. Thanks for asking.
Well, you also deal with the administration part of it, but a lot of girls come here and train as well, don't they?
Yeah, we get lots of girls coming, especially to the group classes we hold in the evenings, and a lot of boot camp participants as well are girls.
Do you train yourself? Does Nick train you, Tonya?
Of course he trains me. He's a great trainer.
Fantastic. We also noticed you at Melbourne Town Hall. You're there with the girls, and you love the fights there at Melbourne, don't you?
Yeah, we love the fights. They're really good.
All right, Tonya, thanks for coming on the show, and good luck with the gym.
Thanks for having us, Peter.
Back with the co-host for today, Howard Lee. Howard, you're one of the premier ring announcers in Australia. You've been doing boxing for a very, very long time. You're involved with some great fights. It's a great setup here. Let's go into some of the memorable memories you have of boxing.
Well, I think Lionel Rose, when I dig back, I twice compared Tony Mundine. That's turning back the pages of time. Lionel Rose was the promoter, but Lionel also played a part in a show out at the Croydon Leisure Centre. George Fogus was fighting, a Hungarian warrior. His sons Marty and Attila were boxers later on. But after the fight, I said to George, he lost on points over 10 rounds, tough, gruelling fight. I said to George, bad luck, you lost, etc., etc. Then George said, I want to say something to the people here tonight. So what's that? He said, Happy Christmas to everybody. I said, George, it's only June. It's only the middle of the year.
Was that a late Happy Christmas or an early one?
Well, that's a very good point, but was it early or late? Yeah. And also, of course, in Adelaide, when Lester Ellis fought Rocky Berg, they smashed the joint up. The semi-main event featuring Jason Hall, the cowboy, or the hustler with Keith Ellis, that fight didn't carry on because of all the dust-ups in the dressing room. There was about 4 disqualifications. Rocky Berg came from America. He had green hair. Keith, I think, got him a green dye, and I called him Rocky Iceberg. And he went 2 rounds from Oklahoma. But the point was that the whole Memorial Drive was all smashed up. When I go to Adelaide for cricket or footy or anything, I always go to Memorial Drive tennis courts, but it's been rebuilt. But when I came back to Melbourne, I was at the Sunday Press then. I gave Scott Palmer the story. I said, the fights at Memorial Drive last night weren't in the ring, they were in the dressing room.
It was safer outside the ring than it was inside the ring. Let's go. You're up meeting with Jimmy Barnes, the soul singer. He was a big fan of this, and straight after with his brother Swanee at the Hilton Hotel, struck up quite a drink tab.
Pete, it was a live on Channel 7 from what was called the Apollo Stadium. It was a Thursday night show, and nearly all the fights on the card, the fighters got cuts. So it was a very short show. But Lester and Tony Lang went 12 rounds for the Commonwealth Championship. I think it was the welterweight. But after the show, we went back to the Hilton Hotel, and the promoter was he adopted a name. He adopted the name of who was a Ponderosa? Who are those? The Greens family. But anyway, they drank Jimmy Barnes, John Swan, and a group of people drank $12,000 worth of refreshments.
It's fair to say, Howard, they weren't dehydrated.
They weren't, Pete. But the next morning, when the promoter went down to check out, the lady on the desk said to him, excuse me, Mr. whatever, I can't remember his name now, Ponderosa Promotions. They said, excuse me, there's one more bill here, $12,000 thereabouts for alcohol. You know, he said he was very shrewd. He said, oh, I don't know much about that. He said, could I have the key back for my room, please? She said, okay, I left something in the room, he said. He went up the stairs, put the key in the door, went down the back stairs and disappeared and went back to Sydney. Yeah.
Gee, interesting story.
You know what happened, Pete? They just booked it up to the promoter. They said, oh, put it on the tab, you know, put it on the tab. Triple scotches at 4 o'clock in the morning are pretty costly. You know.
Top shelf stuff. Let's go over some things that could be happening. Danny Green, Antonio Tarver, how?
Yes. Antonio Tarver, has he seen better days?
He's 42. He's fought 3 times since 2008. Southpaw, goes under the moniker the Magic Man. But he's also got victories and car victories over Roy Jones Jr. Probably going to be a future Hall of Famer. I mean, Danny Green at 38 hasn't been too active himself since 2008. So on paper, looks like it's going to be a good fight at the Sin Entertainment. So that's July 20.
Pete, he has had a win recently, Tarver. Didn't he beat Rocky Balboa? In Rocky, was it 6 or 7, didn't he?
That was an exhibition.
You don't think it was the real McCoy? The crowd was involved though, Pete. Didn't it go 15 rounds?
Could have, Howard. I watched. He was under Owen Dixon, I think he fought under that name.
Owen Dixon, that's right, he did too. But he beat Rocky Balboa on a split decision, I think, didn't he? Yeah. So Tarver, well, he's long and lean, isn't he? He'll be taller than Green. Danny was under threat his career because of abdominal surgery, but he's promoting as well. So he's a promoter come boxer. And Danny Green's a decent guy, isn't he? But at 38, how long has he got left in professional boxing? Another 4 years, do you believe? All going well?
Probably a couple of years, maybe, yeah. But let's go over Lenny Zapavinia. He was gallant in his defeat against Vasquez. And also recently, Michael Katsidis lost to Guerrero, and that was on a big undercard as well. It was a main Dana Morales undercard. We're falling short with the big fights, aren't we, Howard?
Absolutely, Pete. Lenny Zabavina, he carried all before him in Australia, but he fought in a different sort of league. Katsidis has lost his, last 2 or 3? I mean, he's gallant, but he took a lot of head punches against Robert the Ghost Guerrero. He's a good fighter, mind you, Guerrero, but he took a lot of head punches, I think 365. That's too many, Pete. He comes forward, he takes shots, and gosh, your career's going to be short. Since he turned professional, Casitas has taken a lot of punishment. You just worry about him because he's such a fearless warrior, isn't he? So is Lenny Zappavina. How did you see that fight, Pete? Only saw highlights.
Lenny Zappa looked great the first round, and then Vasquez seemed to work him out, and then technically just sort of dissembled him and outpointed him. But great learning curve for Lenny Zappavina. On a fight moving forward, Howard, in Germany, one of our favourites, Daniel the Real Deal Gill, who's a former gold medalist at Commonwealth Games level and a very, very good fighter. He fights Sebastian Sylvester for the IBF middleweight world title. Look, it's going to be hard to win in Germany. We know you basically have to knock him out to win in Germany. He must be confident to be taking that fight, arranged by the Grange Gym, who are doing fantastic work across Australia with their promotions.
But, Pete, you've got to think the judges would be independent, but do you think a hometown audience sort of plays a role in these things? You think, the judges might be swayed when boxers from Australia or any country go overseas? Do you believe the hometown crowd encourage the judges to maybe give a close round to the hometown fighter? Do you think that happens?
Look, you see it in football as well. Home teams sometimes get the benefit of the doubt with decisions when the crowd's screaming and what have you. But by all reports, the Sylvester fight with Daniel Gill, the judges are all American.
That's interesting, Pete. So that'll be very independent. Sylvester, how do you rate him in terms of quality fight? I mean, there's a lot of champion divisions, IBF, WBO, IBO, WBA, WBC. How do you rate him? Have you seen any footage of Sylvester?
I saw him fight Roman Kamazan, and look, Sylvester's a good, decent fighter. I also saw him fight Peter Matreski Jr., the baby face. Look, he's okay. My tip is I think Daniel Gill's going to win the world title.
Well, that's a big deal, as we say, a big deal for Gill, because it's very difficult to win overseas, isn't it? Let's be honest. We've had very few fighters. That's why Jeff Fennick was such a great international fighter, you know what I mean? He lost. He didn't lose to Nelson. He got a draw, but that was a great performance overseas, wasn't it? It's very hard to win away from home. And, of course, Barry Michael won a world title too. He fought overseas, but it's very difficult, I agree. But Gill, can Australia live off the back of Daniel Gill?
Oh, hopefully he can bring it out. Thanks for coming here, wrapping it up here from the fitness ring gym. Thanks for coming on the show, Howard. And next week, we'll be back in the studio. So until next week, what do we say, Howard?
Respect
and keep punching.